Okay, so my business plan is the medical PIN number. So the first thing is the problem. So a common problem in the medical world is that there is no access to information under other providers. So if I go to one healthcare provider, they don't have access to another one if they put in certain information. And that could also work with same providers. They can't access previous information that they put in. Another problem in the medical world is that leads to not like continuation of care. Patients always want a continuation of care, and if they have to go back and always search for previous medical history, they'll kind of neglect that issue. Also, it could lead to redundant lab work and treatment regimens, so it'll be kind of redundant and everything. They'll have to get multiple lab work and everything. And a personal thing, this happened about a year ago now. My grandma, she fell on her hip and she had to go to the medical office, and the surgeon needed to see her previous x-ray to compare to the current one, and my dad had to call around to other offices in order to locate that instead of being by her side, which is a really bad thing. And this happened to my grandma, but it could also be more serious as in life and death situation, and it's a common occurrence throughout the world, not just my grandma. So the description of my medical PIN number is that a patient will receive a card which will have their name and then their PIN number and then their health insurance. And what this does is they could give it to a medical professional, and this medical professional can enter the PIN number into a centralized database, and they will have all the relevant information. So they could update it, they could change it, and they could just add new stuff and use this as a personal kind of guidance as to what to do with the patient. The objectives of the medical PIN number is to make the lives of patients easier, as well as lives of medical professionals easier as to locate where their previous medical information is. And eventually we want it to become worldwide, as in everyone in the world will be using this, so whether you go from one country to another, you will always have the same information and not have to start over. And it's also an easy alternative rather than having to drive, call around to everyone just to locate your medical information. It not only helps patients and medical offices, it also helps health insurances, as they save money rather than doing the same x-ray, ECG, and having the same diagnostic tests. They could just go back to the centralized database and find it. And we want to strive to save and make lives easier for others around the world. So some of our short-term goals is, first we want to start out by handing the medical PIN number out to a handful of medical offices. So then these medical offices could then distribute these cards to their patients, because the medical offices will contact us and we will make it for the patients, and then we'll give it back to the medical office and they could distribute to their patients. So then the patients would just give it to the medical professional and they could enter all this information in. And then eventually our long-term goal, we want it to be to all healthcare insurances. So then the they'll contact us with our company with all their patients' names and everything, and we'll make a card for each patient, our company will, and we'll hand it back to the healthcare insurance, and the healthcare insurance will then distribute it to their patients. And then the healthcare insurances will eventually contact the medical office, telling them as to what to do when they receive this medical card. And we want to eventually become mandatory in the world, as like a social security card is mandatory within the US. So the product and services our company will provide is basically a card with the person